BJ, thank you so much for joining our Pain Out Loud community. I'm so excited to share your story with the listeners so that they can get a better perspective on what you've gone through. Maybe they can learn a little bit for themselves. If you don't mind just letting us know where you're from and just start out with your story and just let us know what's been going on with you with pain.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. My name is BJ. I'm currently from Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been struggling with chronic pain probably for the last 30 years. And it's been quite a journey. And I've sort of titled my journey The Good, the Bad, the Best, and it is the ugly. Yes, it's been all four. And I have made various good, bad, and best choices regarding chronic pain, like putting opiates and other medications into my mouth, treating chronic pain inappropriately. And my life has certainly been ugly at times because of what is called the chronic pain trance, in living in my cave in the bedroom way too long and laying in that bed pulling the covers over my head and watching that TV for hours. And that did not help my chronic pain at all. And I want to share that I've had 32 surgeries, 27 health issues, 70 inches of external scar tissue, and now I choose not to let any of that define me anymore. Every day when I wake up, I scan my body, and yes, I hurt, but I rate my pain from 1 to 10. 0 is not allowed because guess what? I have chronic pain all the time, so 0 is not allowed. Dr. Grinstead is very sophisticated in his rating scales. 0 is not allowed. So I say to myself, so what? Now what? And I learned that from a motivational speaker, Dean Nixon from Utah. And then I decide I'm going to get up and get going for the day. And that's my philosophy that I learned. The good that I learned from going to Utah, the head of a health center, Darren Brooks, challenged me and he told me I had victim thinking. I didn't like that at all. But however, I took that to heart. What he was really saying that I was carrying around all my illnesses as some badge of honor, and I was using it as an excuse to do what? Whine and complain and not to live and engage in life. I thought, wow. And that led me to reading all kinds of books and discover the most significant person in my life besides Jesus and Tom Jones, Dr. Stephen Grinstead. And I've been accused in life to be way too intellectual because I do have a very fancy educational background. And I've also been accused of being Miss Google. But you have to make a decision when you learn from books to do what? Apply it to your life. That is the difference. You can read and have that knowledge, but you must apply it to your life to make a difference, to transform your life, to live and thrive. You must make that kind of difference. So the bad in my life was to lose my spiritual center along the way. And that spiritual center for me was Jesus. And without that anchor, I was never able to battle my pain. I read Mind Change, and these two books, Mind Change by Tom Jones, I read those books 13 times, not because I couldn't understand it, because I needed a heart change, because Tom Jones has MS. I know Tom Jones since 1985. What did he do with the MS? He used to play tennis and golf. He didn't sit there and whine and complain and curse God because he used to be a preacher. No, he wrote over 20 books. And I think he's much more than the famous singer Tom Jones. And he also wrote two of the books was Deep Convictions and Firm Foundations, and that prepared me way back in 1985 before all my health issues, and I believe that helped me battle all my surgeries, health issues and chronic pain. And without those very significant books, there is no way I could have ever conquered everything I've conquered. And I completely owe him everything. And most of all, Jesus, my personal savior. And that was the anchor through all of this. And I did yo-yo throughout my life, but that is significant. The best in all of this, the good, the bad, the best, and the ugly, was definitely Dr. Grinstead. Discovering him, I read his books, and then I turned them over, and there was a phone number, and I called it, and he answered. Dr. Grinstead answered, and I was like a crazy fan going, "It's you. I can't believe it's you. You answered the phone." And he said, calm down, calm down. And I said, "You mean I get to talk to you? I've read all your books. I've read all 15. And he said, "You have?" And I said, "Yes." So then I learned over the years, when talking and counseling and mentoring by him, I learned that I am not a victim. I'm a volunteer in living and thriving. In his most recent book, Freedom from Suffering, I learned that what? Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. That is a very difference. It's a complete difference. And now I've attended all his professional seminars and now at a healing place for 3 months. And to sum up all his teachings, all his very interesting teachings, you have to have a balanced life. You have to have a spiritual core. You have to add your physical needs, social needs, and emotional needs, and most importantly, fun. Because guess what? It's depressing to have chronic pain. It is. You live in that chronic pain trance. You live in your room, in your cave. And most of all, I believe everybody like me watches that TV because why? It's depressing. You have chronic pain. And we all need to lighten up. I just recently had, well, I didn't recently, but I just discovered I have calcified double inguinal hernia mesh, and it was just removed. And a small group of us that I didn't start, but I realized a small group of us, we named ourselves these silly names like Woodward, Joan of Arc, Waterfall Survivor, Edward Cullen, Chris Christopherson. And we all laugh and do silly things like this. And at first they were like, "BJ, what are you saying? What are you doing? I'm hurting. I don't want to name myself a silly name." And I said, "Yes, we're all going to say silly names. When we talk to each other, we're going to have silly names because why? We're all hurting. We're all messed up. And we need to have a little fun and laugh because it releases endorphins. Because everybody is taking what? Medications for chronic pain because of the mesh. It's all connected. It is very connected. And this has got to happen. Laugh therapy. It's very significant. I'm figuring that out, and I'm writing 3 books right now. And I have now made connections with people in Africa, Australia, Canada, all over the U.S. It's been 200 people in the last couple months, 200 people. And I'm seeing this connection with all of these people. And now it's about this small group of 12 people, and I'm going to expand it because I certainly believe we all need to laugh and name ourselves these silly names. Because why? We've all watched these movies. We all listen to this music. And I think everybody wants to do that. I really do. Now, moving on to the ugly. My family has drama, and it's not pretty. I think everybody's family has drama. Who doesn't? And if you don't, guess what? Like Dr. Grinstead says, liar, liar, pants on fire. You do. Put them up to lie detector test. I bet everybody's family has the drama. My chronic pain trance has put me in that cave, and it did what? It took me away from my children's events. I was not able to participate, and it did strain the relationship with my children, and I totally regret it. But I was told that what? BJ, I didn't try to go get sick. That wasn't my goal in life. I didn't wake up one day, my goal in life is to get sick. My goal in life is to have chronic pain. That was never my goal in life. It was never my goal. My goal was to have children and raise them properly. But the chronic pain took me out. It took me out, and I didn't do that. And I'm mostly grateful for my husband for what? He stepped up to the plate and took over when I could not. That was the issue. I could not. And my husband did. He took over like he should, and he did. And I'm grateful. And we are still working out our situation. That's it. We're working it out. And I'm confident that chronic pain will not prevail.
That is,
and
oh yes, please go. Keep going.
And the one thing I learned, another therapy I learned is art therapy. Now, I had almost 3 majors in college, and I don't want to sit and talk about all my fancy education, but one of them was art history. I cannot draw, but Dr. Grinstead has completely encouraged me to do art therapy because he has it in a healing place, art therapy. And what art therapy does is activates the right brain. And it is so significant because even looking at art can heal your brain. And what I did with the women where I interned at, over 100 women, what it does is it creates a social activity because people talk. They're not watching TV. They're not gossiping and whining and complaining about, oh, I'm hurting, I'm this and that. They're focusing on art. And other things about art is, for example, Picasso did pottery. Nobody kind of knows that. And in pottery, when his pottery cracked, he didn't throw that away into the fire. He said, that crack is going to be the beginning of my art with that pottery. Now I apply that to people. People are cracked. And he didn't throw that away. People should not throw away people that are cracked because we are in chronic pain. Nobody should throw away anybody in chronic pain who are cracked. And I see that as I apply that knowledge that I learned about Picasso, nobody is cracked or broken like that piece of pottery. He didn't throw that away. He saw that that's a beginning. And so I've done things like this kind of thing. And this says set free. And this is graffiti art. This is not arts and crafts. Mm-hmm. This is a message. You're set free from your life, from opiates, from medications. It's a philosophy. In the women that I worked with, they loved this. Whether it was jewelry or whatever it was interesting to watch them. I learned from the women. I just presented the art and I learned from them. It is therapy because it gets your brain going in a different way and it heals your brain. It heals them from the chronic pain and whatever else they have going on. It is significant and it should be way more presented to help people from their pain and whatever else issue that they have. And that's what I learned with whatever fancy education I have. You need to apply it to your life. And people need to know Frida Kahlo, who also had a tremendous amount of pain. People should look at her art, the way she had those arrows going into her art. Oh my goodness. We should look at what she did in her art. That's interesting, very interesting what she did. We can absolutely learn from the artist and looking and thinking and presenting that to people and say, what do you think? How does that make you feel? Those are very good discussions with people. I think that is interesting, and we need to have much more conversations with all kinds of people with any kind of education levels. It doesn't take somebody with a fancy education to think about that. Absolutely not. That's what I learned because where I was, these women did not have a high school education. They never knew about my fancy education. I was encouraged to show them things like, what the bleep do you know? I taught Dr. Grinstead's books. I just had to adjust them to teach it to them. I just couldn't teach it to them, read a chapter now. I just had to teach it to them in a different way. And Dr. Grinstead helped me do this. and those women learned. And I didn't talk at them, I talked with them. I went beside them. And that is exactly what happened. And these women were in this place for 9 months to a year. I was exactly impressed by this situation. And it was very, very interesting. And I loved those women and I helped those women. And I applied everything that I learned. It was not Google. It was not just book knowledge. It was applying what I learned, mostly from Dr. Grinstead. And he helped me. He was in California. I was in Georgia. And he helped me. He mentored me. And he helped mold me. It was very, very interesting.
Well, what a very therapeutic relationship you've had with Dr. Grinstead. And
Yes.
I'm going to commend you for, first of all, you're a great storyteller. And you have an incredible enthusiasm and passion for what you're speaking of. And you have the patience and willingness to try to reach people where they're at and bring the knowledge that you've acquired. You're obviously a very intelligent woman who has a lot of positivity.
Thank you.
And you've done some incredible inside work for yourself to project that externally to the environment around you. And I have a very strong feeling that you're going to make a tremendous impact on those that are out there suffering. And I really, really want to encourage you to get those books done and to keep,
Thank you.
Yes, and to keep connecting because even me doing Pain Out Loud has enabled me to connect and learn from people, and even with your art, like you said, sometimes it's not just the words, but it's the feelings. It's what you feel.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So I wanna thank you. Is there any last words of if you know someone's
Yes.
suffering?
Yes, this is exactly what I want to say.
Yes.
Okay, I want to encourage everybody who's listening to exactly do this, to watch Michael Jackson's video on Man in the Mirror. He died of the worst drug out there, Propanol. And it's unfortunate that his doctor went to jail. Yes, they blamed him. But what did Michael Jackson do? He took it. He should be made responsible. But Man in the Mirror, if everyone listens to it, the message is look at yourself and make the change. And then what? Everybody else to do what? They will follow your own personal example, because that's where it starts. It starts with a personal responsibility. And that's what Dr. Grinstead says in his books. You make the change. It's your personal responsibility to do what? Go get help. You don't sit there, because what I see is people want to do what? They want to blame the doctors. They want to blame your spouse. They want to blame your family. They want to blame everybody else. And they never want to, I don't want to say the word never. A lot of the times they don't want to ever look at themselves and take the personal responsibility for themselves to get the help. And that's what I figured out for myself. I had to go get the help and look internally, spiritually, physically, socially, and emotionally at myself and go, what is it, BJ? And I absolutely learned what? I am a very smart woman, and I won't want to say I'm an actuary, but I am. But I absolutely learned I am the expert of making mistakes, and I made them. And I am the absolute expert. And there's an interesting photo of when you point. There's 3 fingers back at you when you want to point at somebody. Guess what? One of my titles of my book is going to be 10 fingers at me. They're all 10 fingers at me, because guess what? I'm going to only blame myself for everything in my life. I'm tired of blaming my parents. I'm tired of blaming the world. I'm tired of people who abuse me. I'm tired of blaming the doctors. I'm tired of blaming everybody, because I did it. I put the medications in my life. I'm the one who left church. I'm the one who left Jesus. Jesus never left me. I did the leaving. I'm the one who did it. I'm the one who went to the doctors. I'm the one. So the 10 fingers are all at me. That's the title of my book, 10 Fingers at Me. That's my message. Everybody should look at that video, because that video, not just the song, the video is very, very, very good. Michael Jackson is incredibly talented. but it's very unfortunate the way he died. Very, very unfortunate. And that was a terrible drug that he died of. Terrible. And yes, that doctor did need to go to prison, but Michael took it. He did, and he was asking for it he was asking for his milk at the very end. That is horrible. But that video and his talent was incredible. And we should all witness and respect what he did. And that video is significant for the whole world in chronic pain. We need to honor Michael and watch it and take personal responsibility for our own lives. And then what? Go be of service for other people to help them with their chronic pain and whatever else in their life in chemical recovery, because that's the way Michael died. We need to look at the man in the mirror and do exactly that.
That's wonderful. And just as a little aside, we all have a responsibility, like you said, we individually. And the thing is that, the way he died, I won't go in a lot of detail. Obviously, propofol is the medicine you're speaking of, and if used in the right circumstances, mainly in the operating room settings,
right,
and whatnot,
exactly,
very helpful. And the responsibility of that physician, really, without me knowing all the details, is that you have to inform and educate the patients too of what they're receiving, and if they are going to be receiving medications that have the potential to harm them, then something like propofol really should have someone who is an airway expert and someone who is constantly monitoring him. And he did not have that, from what I understood. So,
oh, exactly. He left the room. I know all about the case. He left the room, and you shouldn't be doing that to sleep with.
Right.
I mean, that was not correct. It was not correct.
Right. So opioids and all the other things that are offered, there really needs to be exit plans and understandings of the risks, and we shouldn't be so quick to give those things and not have a patient who's empowered, which you have become a very empowered patient. And
right. And excuse me, and that's what Dr. Grinstead teaches. He teaches for post-surgery, you must have a plan. And no doctor teaches that. You have a plan to say X number of weeks, taper and get off of those opiates. That's what he teaches. And you should see everything he teaches. You should see, it's amazing. It's totally amazing at a healing place. And all his books are totally amazing. It is incredible. And he has 500 YouTube videos. 500. Nobody has that many YouTube videos. He's beyond busy. He gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning. He swims. He meditates. He makes grateful lists. I really know the man. I mean, I know him very well. And we talk like 3 times a week.
That's wonderful.
So I really know a lot about him. Well, and so, yes, I am his groupie and probably his biggest fan. So, yes, I do know a lot about him.
Well,
I know a lot about his life.
Right. I'm going to add his information below so people can check him out, because he's obviously been interviewed by me this morning, in fact.
Oh, okay.
So he'll be findable within the community. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart from being able to be available and to share your story. A lot of people don't want to be on video, but I really think it's powerful. And so I want to thank you for
You're welcome.
for donating your time and sharing your story.
Thank you, and I hope you print this too.
I absolutely will put it underneath
because
for you.
He read it and approved it, and he only changed 3 words. So I'm impressed that he only changed 3 words.
It's got the Grinstead approval.
Yes, it does. Okay. Everything that I do has his approval, just because he's my mentor, and I want to make sure, he's checking it out what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Well, we all need accountability and
yes.
And education, so thank you for being part of that, and I look forward to seeing all the things you're going to do in the future, and maybe we'll have you back on one day.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
All right.